You wake up listening to all the motorcycles driving past your block and you hear this one specific bike with its unique sound. And you know, this is a 600cc sport bike. But why do you know that? Why do 600cc sport bikes rev so high? In some minutes I will have explained this to you. First we will cover why 600cc sport bikes need to rev that high. And then I will tell you why those motorcycles can rev so high. Let's get started with why these unique bikes need to rev as high as 16,000 RPM. 600cc sport bikes are developed performance-oriented. This means that the goal is to get as much power out of them as possible. But there are some limitations and restrictions. For example, the displacement, which can't be higher than 600cc, otherwise it wouldn't be a 600cc bike. What are the developers supposed to do when they want to get more power but can't make the engine larger? There's a formula for the power, which is power equals torque times RPM. So it's quite clear, for maximizing the power, we can either maximize the torque or the RPM. It would be best to maximize both, wouldn't it? So let's get started with the torque. There are some different factors which can influence the torque a motorcycle engine can produce. The biggest factor is the sum of the engine displacement volume and the compression volume. The displacement volume would, in the case of a 600cc bike, be 600cc, and the compression volume is this little place above the displacement volume where the explosion starts. But apart from that, there are still some other factors. For example, the air delivery efficiency or the friction within the engine. But the last two factors don't have such a huge influence. So we can say that the torque of an engine is pretty much limited by the displacement volume. As a proof, most 600cc sport bikes have a torque around 60 Nm as their maximum torque, no matter which manufacturer. Of course, there is a motorcycle with a maximum torque of 57 Nm or 68 Nm, but still those numbers are pretty much close together. Okay, now we solved the torque part. Let's get back to the formula, which was power equals torque times RPM. If the torque is pretty much fixed, the only way to get way more power out of the motorcycles is to increase the RPM. Here we got the explanation why 600cc sport bikes need to rev that high. Why don't just all motorcycles rev as high as 600cc bikes, so all motorcycles would also have more power? Which brings us to point number 2, why 600cc sport bikes can rev so high. There are some limiting factors to the RPM, which makes that not all motorcycles rev so high. But for 600cc sport bikes, it was worth to overcome those factors. A very huge aspect is the engine geometry, which can be broken down into bore and stroke, as well as numbers of cylinders. The ideal design for a 600cc cylinder would be a large bore and a short stroke, since friction and internal losses increase with a longer stroke. So by choosing a short stroke, we can decrease friction and internal losses. Imagine an engine. The size would be fixed in our example. Here we have the connecting rod and above it we have the stroke. So let's say we decrease the size of the stroke, then we would have more space for the connecting rod. And longer connecting rods are quite good, because longer connecting rods mean that there are less lateral forces within the cylinder. Of course, there are also some advantages to a larger bore. A larger bore would allow more space for larger valves in the cylinder head. This, on the other hand, would enhance intake conditions for a better performance. Of course, the bore can't be endlessly large and the stroke can't be endlessly short due to thermodynamic limitations. For avoiding getting overly large bores, there's one simple solution. We need to have multiple cylinders. The most popular cylinder configuration would be a 4-cylinder arrangement for 600cc sport bikes. So the key for maximizing specific performance in 600cc engines is the optimal bore-to-stroke ratio. If you think some information was missing to get the whole point about what I was trying to tell you, please just let me know in the comments, and I'm gonna improve the next time. And if you want to know more about 600cc bikes in general, just check out these videos as well.